Well, I hope this game's pretty good. You know, it could be. I've heard of some things about it. Learn Highguard. Highguard is a game made by Wildlight Entertainment, made up of Respawn developers who worked on Titanfall and Apex Legends. You'll notice this in the gunplay, in the movement, how it feels. It feels a lot like this. There's one or two recurring voice actors from Titanfall, which are awesome. And I think that overall, this game, when it was announced at the Game Awards, was given too big of a platform. I think it was given too high expectations, and then they kind of failed in the marketing department. So, did it actually get the reviews it deserved, or is it underrated, overrated? We shall see. I'm going to go over pretty much everything you need to know before trying the game. The first phase, legend picking, or hero picking, or guardian picking. What are they called? You basically go through and you pick what character you're going to play, what base you're going to play, and then after that there's a random loading screen that needs to be removed, and then you'll be able to actually get into the game. But first you have to secure your base. You can change loadout during this time, but only gray guns. You'll see the timer at the top of the screen. You can trade with the trader at any time throughout the match, as long as you have the required currency, which you'll see in the top right and bottom left of your screen, because this is actually a very important mechanic for getting better guns in the game. First, looting. The second phase is going to be looting. You basically go around. It's divided into three things: crystals, breakable containers, which are these barrels, and lootable containers. This phase goes on forever. It's a 2-minute phase of just looting. This happens after every single raid, which we'll get into in a sec, and this needs to be shortened by probably 30-45 seconds. I get why they have it as it is. Then we'll have the shield breaker phase. The shield breaker is this. It's a sword, and you'll see its purpose in a second. One person on one team will be able to pick it up, and this is the main objective. The point is to get the shield breaker into the enemy's shield and break it. You plant it at one of these stations, and it doesn't matter if you die afterwards, you don't need to defend it. As soon as you get that, they lose 30 health and start a raid. Raids are a very interesting mechanic. It's literally just Rainbow Six. It's plant bomb, defend bomb, kill enemy team, but with a slight twist. You have 6 lives and the enemies have infinite lives. So as long as the enemies can defend their bombs, when the bombs go off, they do 35 for A and B, and the gem one, which I call main, instantly wins the game. But it has an 80-second cooldown, whereas A and B only have 40, and when you get to 20 seconds, they don't reset, they go to half. And then you do this all over again after that. Yeah, it can get a bit repetitive, but here's what changes it up a lot. The gunplay is smooth, you can use different guns, but the big thing that it'll change is how the heroes play. I mean, guardians. No, they're not called guardians. Okay, they're called wardens. Who named these guys wardens? Okay, wardens. Wardens, there's 9 of them right now. I'm going to go over each of them really quick. First, we're going to have Econ. He turns into a wolf and does wolf stuff. Then we're going to have Atticus. He's lightning everything. Redmane, bear. I just think of him bear. Condor has a fly bird that scans. Slade, lots of fire. Kai, lots of ice. Turns into ice monster. Mara can give overshield and a spawn point. Scarlet, jet plus wraith. Then Una. Una's a bit of an interesting one. Just spawns a bunch of little minions. So overall, there's a bit of character diversity, but I wanted to talk about a few things with this game. First of all, it was released too early. This game has since had 2 updates, and they've made it playable. Before it got the first update, the game was actually unplayable. The performance was terrible. I honestly thought it was reviewed too high, and it had mostly negative reviews. The performance was that bad. It had some of the worst performance I've ever seen in a game by far. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Since then, the performance has increased a ton. It's actually kind of a fun game now. I do think it needs a little bit of refinement. They have the macro stuff down, the large scale, the gunplay, the movement, how you get around maps. The maps are fairly well fleshed out. They have a few interesting spots. The guns each feel unique, and they serve a purpose. They have a range that they're best at. And overall, it feels like a decently well fleshed out game. It just needs the small things. And the small things are killing it. First thing, they just didn't think of these, it feels like. Like certain things they've added even since the beginning. Just like there's these gateways, and they allow you to go faster. Those weren't initially activated unless you had the shield breaker, which doesn't really make sense. And they haven't really thought through how long it should actually take for the enemy team to respawn. Because sometimes you'll fight at the sword, you'll win that fight, and you'll start running, and you barely get halfway to their base by the time they're respawned and ready to fight you again. And that means that that first fight you fought didn't really mean anything because all it did was move it 50 meters. And that can be a bit frustrating, especially when you're playing against two teams who are really close to each other, because it can sometimes just come down to that last period where you're just fighting it out until someone gets lucky or someone makes a small mistake. And I understand that's kind of the point of games like this. Someone makes a small mistake and it wins or loses the game. This game punishes that a little much in some scenarios. And especially with how the abilities work. Some of these abilities are stupidly broken and just win you these fights. And other abilities have no purpose in these fights and you're like, what do I do? And certain guns have very weird attributes about them. First of all, one of the big things that you'll notice is these guns don't have damage fall off at range. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but no damage fall off at range pretty much means you can run SMG shotgun, and that's the best kit in the game. Now, that's theoretically. This game has some small issues that I actually think means a revolver and shotgun, or revolver and SMG is the best kit, but they also forgot big things, like the RPG does 130 damage. The gray RPG that you can have 4 shots in does 130 damage. A gray shield is 150 health. You need 1 bullet on a Viper, an SMG, and 1 shot from an RPG to connect, and you've killed someone. Now, these shields, they get upgraded, you can buy them, you find them fairly often, not really that big of an issue in theory. But it's the fact that you lose shields after respawn that can make this an issue. Because if you don't prepare properly, or you're new to the game and you don't really know what you need, which I feel the tutorial did not actually do a good job of teaching me about the game, it can get very frustrating very fast because you're like, wait, where did my shield go? The tutorial never clarifies that you lose your shield on death. That needs to be added to the tutorial. That's a key component of the game and why you get multiple shields. Because my first game, honestly, I didn't collect multiple shields. I went into this completely blind and was confused. Wait, I had a blue shield. Why do I now have a white shield? That doesn't make sense. And I get the point now, but the tutorial needs to be better, first of all. Second of all, they need to add some form of gun balancing because it's just ridiculous. If you get an impact round Viper, a gold Viper with impact rounds, it's the, I guess, special ability for gold, you just win. It ends the game. It's better than the crate gun. The crate gun is good, don't get me wrong. That's probably the most consistently good weapon you're gonna get. But this Viper just wins you games. It outright dominates everything. Or you get a double shot Kraken. It is just a gun that does 99 damage to the body that shoots twice at once. And they thought, yeah, let's make that in the game. Now, I want to be clear, these things can be balanced. I don't think that they're necessarily useless or anything. I don't think it's possible to balance them. I just think this game was underbaked at launch, and I think that's exactly what keeps killing games. I think that this video is more about the finals than Highguard, actually. I really think I enjoy Highguard. I've been having a bit of fun since their most recent update. Their rank system's actually pretty decent, but this is just a repetitive theme in gaming. I don't know if you've noticed it. A game releases underbaked, not ready to be released, and they're like, oh, we'll just fix it in updates. We want to get it out now. And the game dies within a month of its launch. I mean, just look at Highguard's player count. It started at a reasonably healthy player count, and now it's barely hanging on, and I'm honestly expecting end of service within the next 2 months, because there's no way they can make enough money to keep this game running. Also, this game is still not very well optimized. I understand optimization is hard, and I've been absolutely spoiled by the finals somehow functioning even at all, but this game doesn't feel optimized sometimes still, despite being 2 patches of just straight optimizations. They added 1 character, which incredible rate, by the way, adding 1 character already. I'm pretty sure, I bet he was, pre-planned. But I think that the way they've done this, it doesn't feel like the game was ready. And especially with how little advertising they did after getting the prime spot of the game show, or Game Awards, I just don't think this game was ready to be dropped. And I feel like the Game Awards forced it to be dropped with a massive spotlight on it, with people already hating on it because the gameplay trailer was honestly really bad. And I just don't think the game was ready at the time of its initial launch. If you launched it in the state it's in now, I think it would have retained a higher player count. I don't see this game picking those players back up though. Now, this is actually surprising. Their character balancing for the initial 8 is actually pretty good. I don't feel like there's a clear strongest character, you must pick this. There are stronger characters, there are weaker characters. It's impossible to not have that, just depending on certain things. And then they add the 9th character, Econ, and he's clearly the best. It's not even close. He'll win any mid-range engagement. He'll win any close-range engagement. He just is better at anything but once you get into the raid. And once you get into the raid, he still has a heat-seeking tracking missile that will scan people, and he can see people if they're damaged. He can just see people through walls if they've taken damage. Why? Who was like, that's a great idea. That's going to be a very fun game mechanic to play against. So I know that was a lot of negativity, but I want to go over a few positive things this game did. The gunplay, incredible. This gunplay is so incredibly smooth. It feels fluid. It never feels like choppy. Well, since the updates, it doesn't feel choppy. It feels like each gun has its own personality. They have a decent amount of recoil. Even though there's no damage fall off at range, they do actually have their purpose and their role in their area where they're good. Now, obviously, no damage fall off at range is still not that great of a thing, but I actually understand why they did it. I just wish they'd done it a little differently. I think that the sniper is weird. I think a lot of these weapons, they have a great idea behind. You know, a 6-shot burst pistol is a really interesting idea, especially since it's double-barreled, like the Shack, actually. And I just think that things like this are really inventive and really cool. But then they fall back on things that from other games that people don't like. RPGs that just annihilate people aren't fun to play against. But, you know, back to the positives. Sorry, got a little off track. I think the way they did destruction in this game is pretty decent. Not on the finals level, obviously. Didn't really expect that. I don't think it would actually fit the game super well. But they did a good job at making the destruction actually impactful, but also not like, well, he blew up in that wall, we lose, right? Each character feels distinct. It never feels like I'm playing the same character, but 1% different. Each character feels very distinct, and you use their ability sets in very different ways. The movement potential is insane. This game has maybe higher movement potential than Apex because it's kind of built on the same features as Apex, but then they added mounts, which create a lot of new movement. Its current unbalanced, broken state, it's kind of fun. It's just fun to absolutely stomp on people. Until you're the ones getting stomped on, then you want to break your mouse in half. I think the base mechanic is really good. That's what I call it when you just teleport to your base, your base. I think that's actually a really good mechanic in this type of game. I think they did it a little wrong, but the intention behind it was incredible. I think that it's a good mechanic because it doesn't mean that, oh, well, he outran me, I just have to give up. It means that you can strategically send yourself home and put yourself in their way. All right, so those are some pretty general things that I just wanted to go over real quick, just some thoughts I had on the game. Now we're gonna go over my 3 big, massive issues of the game and my 3 big things I just love about the game. For the 3 negative things, we're obviously going to have the UI. This UI, it feels like I'm playing Cars 2 on the Wii U again. That sounds insane. I'm gonna see if I can find a picture. I don't know if I can find a picture of that, but it really feels like it. There's a certain mode in Cars 2 and it just feels like that. Walking in this game is a chore. You feel so incredibly slow and you just can't get anywhere walking, it feels like, which is a bit frustrating. I understand the purpose, but when you're in your raid base and you're defending and they plant opposite site, the bomb is half over by the time you can even get within half a mile of it. It's a bit frustrating. And my number one thing, the looting phase is so bad. I don't understand why the looting phase was necessary. Let's add more RNG to a game that honestly already has way too much RNG. I think the third issue is really RNG because the trader shop changes every round. You're gonna get different loot out of barrels. You're gonna get different loot out of lootable crates. You're gonna get different things from the supply drop. There's so much that can go wrong, and right now the meta is so specific that it can be a bit frustrating to find the thing you want. I think an upgrade bench or some kind would be really good for this. Now, obviously make it a lot more expensive than the trader to upgrade. because you obviously don't want people just not using the trader. I think that would be a better way of making this work. Maybe also has to be in your base or something. Now my 3 big pros. The gunplay in this game is some of the smoothest gunplay I have ever played. It feels better than Apex's gunplay, and I thought Apex's gunplay couldn't be improved upon. I do maybe slightly prefer the finals, but I think that's me being more used to the finals gunplay. I really, really appreciate this gunplay, how smooth it is, how the guns feel. They're unique, they're snappy. The bullet drop is there, but it's not too much. It's never like you have to do massive calculations. It's just a slight drop. It feels, I guess, more realistic. The bullets are actually pretty large in this game, which I think is good, especially for revolver type weapons. They're really large, and I think that's their way of balancing damage drop off, is larger bullets to make up for slower fire rates and smaller bullets for faster fire rates. I think that's a really interesting choice. I also think the strategies in this game that are available are so many. There's so many strategies. Like, I was just messing around, just playing the game normally, and I had this moment of, well, what happens if I just hold the sword? This was like my second game. Well, if you just hold the sword until time expires, you don't get credit for inserting the sword, but you still get to raid their base, and you can still lose, which is such an interesting way of balancing that, because you obviously don't want people just holding the sword and getting it in for free, right? But it's based on which side of the map it's on. So you could technically hold the sword and get raided because it's close to your side of the map, which creates for so many interesting strategies. Because if you're a completely defensive team comp, maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want to take away their 30 for them raiding your base, but it's failing. I mean, the possibilities there are endless, and I think that's a really great choice. And the third one, this is something I will always love, listening to their community. People were saying that 3v3 was the wrong mode. I agreed with this. I think 3v3 is honestly still the wrong mode. I understand why they chose it for ranked, more battle tested by 2 days. And just in general, it feels like a better ranked mode, probably. But them adding 5v5 in 2 days is really impressive. Bit janky, honestly, needed some refinement. But overall, adding a 5v5 mode within 2 days of the game releasing, when it was never intended to be 5v5, is pretty incredible. Overall, I do think Highguard is underrated. I think its initial ratings were probably a bit too high, honestly. A mostly negative review was probably a bit too high at first because the game was so choppy. But since then, I think it has improved massively. I honestly was thinking that this game wouldn't last a month. I'm now thinking it could last 2-3 months. I just don't think it's getting the players back. I think it lost too many people initially. And yes, I do think it is worth playing. This is the type of game where it either clicks and it's your type of game, or not your type of game, but it's probably fun anyways. Personally, not my type of game. This is probably the last video I'm gonna make on this game. I just wanted to change it up because I have a little bit of time in the finals in the past month. I didn't play the game for 2 weeks in that span. I also deleted about another week's worth of footage because I got a new graphics card. You'll see why, hopefully next week. Probably not next week, it'll probably take me another 2 months. But that's the fun part.